Okay, my name is Maggie, Wright, and if you're friends with me on Facebook, you've seen me vocal about this Alamo Cenatoph ever since October when I went to a Save the Cenatoph rally. And so we're going to see a little short video. I think that he can just say it up there. This is a war memorial to our first veterans of Texas. And they want to remove it. And we found out Thursday in this plan with this advisory, they're going to move it 500 feet. This is a monument that is 60 feet tall, 40 feet long, 12 feet wide. They're going to move it these 500 feet. They're going to move it outside the battlefield where these defenders actually shed their blood. They died there to bring about our Texas. And I get so passionate and emotional because I can't believe they're doing this. They're moving it to the south by the Menger Hotel. And in some of the slides we saw where they're going to have actual places right here for the Mexican soldiers, like a monument pretty close to it. There's going to be 3 different places for the Mexican soldiers. I think that should be in a museum, not at our Alamo, our shrine. So watch this. Did you get it?
This is the video.
This isn't just some memory that's popular in movies. These were really living, breathing people. The Alamo's personal. And we want that story told. This is where their bodies died. This is where the soul left that body. And what more appropriate place than right where it sits. And we're here now to defend our family cemetery. Don't touch this cenotaph.
You know, the saying is no surrender, no retreat. Remember the Alamo. It's time that we answer that call once again. Enough is enough. Leave our history alone.
It's in the perfect place because, as y'all know, the north wall ran right through the post office, and when they broke through and most of the Texans fell back, they fell back into these very rooms right here. These were doors at that time, and that's where they made their final stand, and that's where they died. So this is a memorial to them. It's in the perfect spot. It doesn't need to move 1 inch.
In 1960, my grandfather brought me here and told me about my family that died. To me, this is the only monument or tombstone that we have of our family, our blood kin, and it should sit in front of the Alamo, and that's the reason why it was placed here. Their blood's on this ground. It should stay where they died.
Alamo heroes have no Arlington Cemetery. Following the battle, Santana ordered their bodies burned and the wind carried their ashes to the 4 corners of the earth. In a symbolic sense, Alamo Plaza is a cemetery, and the cenotaph is their headstone.
Because you know what this is. It's a Veterans Memorial. It's not just a piece of our history, it's a Veterans Memorial. Now, you don't go and move Veterans Memorials, okay? Nobody would ever think about moving the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C., okay? They're not going to reimagine that somewhere else.
The seeds are planted today, the line's been drawn in the dust to save the cenotaph. It's time for Texans to all go to work. If you believe in what the Alamo's about, what Texas is all about, do something about it and help us save the cenotaph.
I brought my horse, and you notice what that symbolizes. We stand here for all those that fell at the Alamo because they can no longer get up and fight for it. So we have to stand here and fight for them.
Okay, this was our men that were less than 200 of them against Santa Anna's army that was thousands, 2,000, 3,000. They knew they were going to die, but they did this to bring about our Texas. I had an ancestor that had 3 sons in Houston's army. One of them fought at the Battle of St. Cenatoph. So they probably were screaming, remember the Alamo and remember Goliad. So I'm passionate passionately fighting this, and we need your help. Texas Freedom Force is helping us, and the Alamo bloodline descendants of these defenders are asking us to help them. We will have a booth, and it's in the convention. It's booth 334, 336 with Laura Presley and Raging Elephants, right across from George P. Bush. So I want you to kind of look at this slide. Thursday we found out, if you've been there, there's a rock wall around the Alamo. That's all coming down. Our federal government gave us money to build the museum, which is now our gift shop. That's coming down, all the stuff that was, in the 1930s. And the federal government gave us $100,000 to remember our Alamo defenders. Does it work? And it's a shame if we let them move it. It'll tear it up, and that's what they want to do. And it's still going to be on city property when they move it. I looked and I found an ordinance. It's an ordinance deed. It became a deed in 1937. And the state did deed it back to the city of San Antonio, but it had a restriction on that deed, and it said, this property shall not be used for anything else other than what it was intended. So this is the Cenatoph, and of course that's the Alamo. And is there, just do a key?
Just, if you can put the arrow on the keyboard, it'll.
Okay, these are just some pictures. I'm going to go through it fast. This is the ordinance deed that I found, and it does, in number 4, it does have that, and I had Ken Paxton's attorney to look at it, and he flagged the matter, said you need to look at your ordinance deed before you do this. And then I went to the archives in Austin, and I saw the blueprints. I got to handle them and take pictures of them. This is very sturdy. They say it needs to be removed, to be repaired. It can be repaired on site. We've had some architects to look at it. And we've got to fight this. It's built very sturdy. I got these out of his scrapbook, Copani's. And this particular part of the Cenatoph, when they were putting up, this is in 1939, and it weighs 40,000 pounds. This is of marble. Just think what they're going to do with that when they bring it down. And of course, this is with the scaffolding all removed, and that's the old post office. And that was the Board of Control, and the State Board of Control, and the mayor. They would have never deeded it back to the city if they'd have known we'd had a city council and a GLO that would want to remove a war memorial. And this is where they sent out a notice to come to the Armistice Day. This was November the 11th, the celebration of the parade. And while the bombs were bursting in the air during our World War II in Europe, here in San Antonio in Texas, they were celebrating our Alamo defenders. And now they want to take this monument down. And this is the crowd around the Cenatoph as they were celebrating in 1940, November the 11th. And this is the marker, number 95. And on that Cenatoph, it says, in memory of the heroes who sacrificed their lives at the Alamo, March 6, 1836, in the defense of Texas. They chose never to surrender nor retreat. These brave hearts, with flags still proudly waving, perished in the flames of immortality that their high sacrifice might lead to the founding of this Texas. Erected by the state of Texas, 1936, with funds appropriated by the federal government to commemorate 100 years of Texas independence by Pompeo Copani. I'm probably saying this wrong, he's the sculptor, and that's cut in stone. They don't like this monument because they have to tell the real story. All of the defenders' names are carved in stone around that. And of course, this is just some, that was city council meeting. This was the first to reimagine the Alamo. People got real upset because of the glass walls. I've taken that down. But we've got some planners that are from Cincinnati and from Pennsylvania and London and Old Mexico. I asked Commissioner Bush, why can't we have Texans making these plans? And this is what they did Thursday. This is the Menger Hotel over here. They're moving our Cenatoph away from the Alamo. See the Alamo over there? They've taken all the rock wall away from the sides of it. This is what they're going to do. They're going to dig down 18 inches, remove the soil, remove the old trees, and plant new trees. move the cenotaph, and our legislature has contributed $175 million. We have a say. $75 million of that was our rainy day fund. And this is where the men are over there on the left, that's where the cenotaph now stands. Other places, battlefields, have monuments. We can leave that monument right there. And see, it looks, of course, that's the long barracks over there. That's where Travis and Bonham and Davy Crockett, they all fell back in those rooms. But they don't want the cenotaph there. And you can't see it, but the cenotaph sits right here. And this is Mexican soldier positions. And they have Mexican, let's see, here's another one, Mexican cavalry position. That can be in a museum. I don't want that on our Alamo grounds. Is it my time up? No. Oh, okay. So anyway, and there is another one. This is just, that doesn't look anything like our Alamo. And this is what they're doing. And see the tables and chairs along there? These are those 3 buildings that Commissioner Bush has purchased. The Crockett building, the Woolworth building. And now the planners told us Thursday, they might demolish those buildings and build a museum. They're just, money doesn't mean anything to them. And this is a more modern. You can see where the cenotaph is. And these are those 3 buildings right there, right here. And the cenotaph, of course, is right there. And then this is the Alamo. But they're going to move that cenotaph down here, 500 feet by the Menger Hotel, off the battlefield where our defenders lost their lives. And Ted Cruz has going to get us a meeting with Commissioner Bush, but he didn't want to do it before the advisory committee. I talked to him about 50 minutes last week, and he said he wanted it to run its process. Well, it ran its process a lot. We're not pleased. Oh, I want to go back to that. Right here, there is an inscription. If there was a cross on this, we could get First Liberty, Kelly Shackelford, to go after it. But there's not a cross on there. There is this spirit figure, because this is an empty tomb. It's a cenotaph. And their bodies were burned. They weren't given a Christian burial. And so he was depicting this as a spirit, going into heaven. It's open inside it. But right here, there is an inscription, if you've never looked at it. And he came up with this: from the fire that burned their bodies rose the eternal spirit of sublime, heroic sacrifice which gave birth to an empire state. And of course, this is, don't take the beating heart from our Alamo. True to Texas elections, Laura Presley is letting us be in one of her booths with raging elephants. It's booth number 334. If you're a delegate, come by and sign our petition. I've got petitions out there you can sign, because we have an attorney, the Alamo Defenders Association does, ready to go when they come with the cranes and whatever to buy some time. And we're going to write letters to President Trump and see if he can save it until we can get a monument protection bill passed by our legislature in January. But I'm afraid it's going to be moved before then. So help us call your representatives. I mean, it's like they don't care. I've talked to Governor Abbott, I've talked to Ken Paxton, I've talked to Dan Patrick, but just get on the phone, email, or whatever, because once they move it, it's going to tear it up, and they don't care. So help us. Thank you.